The black of space burned red over Earth's orbit. Hundreds of alien ships surrounded the blue planet, their hulls shaped like blades and wings of glass. Each vessel carried the mark of the Galactic Council, symbols of authority older than humanity's existence. In the silence between worlds, the Council's fleet waited, powered by suns, ready to pass judgment. On Earth's side, the Terran defense fleet floated like scars across the void. There were only 20 ships, small, outnumbered, outgunned. But every ship pulsed with blue light from reactors built in secret beneath the planet's crust. On the command deck of the flagship Resolute, Admiral Kane watched the holographic map update every second. Alien cruisers were closing in. They gave us an hour to surrender, the officer said. If we don't respond, they'll sterilize the surface. Kane stared at the message. The words flickered in the air. Submit or be erased. The Council wanted Earth gone, claiming the humans were too violent to join the stars. He could see their logic. Humanity had been born from fire and fear, had learned to survive in every hell nature gave them. But today he would show them something else, what humanity had become. He pressed the intercom. Fleet command to all vessels. Begin Phase 2. Deep below the fleet in Earth's orbit, the signal reached a hidden satellite network. Thousands of metallic petals unfolded, linking across the magnetosphere. The alien fleet detected the surge and reacted instantly. Shields flared, energy weapons charged, but they were already too late. The satellites turned Earth's magnetic field into a weapon. A wave of electromagnetic fury expanded outward, disabling hundreds of alien drones and scrambling their navigation systems. Massive ships tumbled as engines shut down. Alarms echoed through the void. Kane exhaled. Now they'll listen. The aliens responded by sending a message to the Galactic Council. And within an hour, a council judgment chamber opened in orbit above Jupiter, its core glowing white like a miniature sun. Humanity had been summoned to answer for what they had done. Inside that vast chamber, surrounded by floating envoys from across the galaxy, humanity stood alone. Ambassador Hale represented Earth. He looked small under the towering holographic forms of beings who lived 1,000 years each. Their voices echoed like wind through crystal halls. Your people have demonstrated aggression, said the council speaker, a being of living light. You have turned your homeworld into a fortress. You turned your planet's very atmosphere into a weapon. Explain yourself. Hale stood tall. We did what we must. You came armed, not to talk. You call it aggression? We call it survival. Whispers moved through the crowd. The council envoys were not used to defiance. Hale placed a black stone on the council platform. That's from our planet's surface. 1 billion years ago, it was part of a mountain that killed everything living near it. We learned to live beside it. That's who we are. The speaker's glow dimmed. So you mean to say your nature is violence? No, Hale said softly. Our nature is adaptation, the council debated. Many called for Earth's destruction. Others saw opportunity. In the end, a decision was made. Humanity would not be destroyed but tested. One human would be allowed to join the Galactic Academy, a place where the galaxy's finest minds were trained. If that human proved Earth could coexist, the species would be accepted. If not, Earth would face isolation forever. Hale accepted the terms. We'll send her, he said. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Her? Asked the speaker. Yes, Hale said. Her name is Lyra Vance. The moment the decision was made, Earth's sky lit with departure engines. Lyra's transport ship rose from the atmosphere, its hull shaking from pressure as it pierced through the clouds. She sat quietly inside, looking at her reflection in the window. She was young, barely 20, born in the ruins of a once-collapsed city. Her eyes were calm, but her hands were steady in the way soldiers' hands were steady. Her file said she had survived 3 natural disasters and volunteered for planetary defense at 16. She had no family, no politics, no fear. To the Council, she was a symbol of Earth's defiance. To Earth, she was a chance for redemption. As her ship left orbit, the image of Earth grew smaller behind her, wrapped in blue light and clouds. The stars ahead stretched into lines as the ship entered jump space. Days later, the Galactic Academy came into view. A massive ring of crystal and steel, orbiting the twin suns of Virene. Ships from hundreds of species glided around it, each shaped for its world's gravity and atmosphere. The Academy was not just a school. It was a declaration of unity. Every race of the Council sent its brightest here, and now for the first time a human would walk its halls. When her ship docked, a silence fell over the arrival bay. Hundreds of students gathered behind security barriers, staring at the strange new arrival. The air was filled with clicking, humming, and the metallic scent of recycled oxygen. Lyra stepped out wearing a simple uniform, black and gray, marked only by the blue insignia of Earth. Her boots clanked against the polished floor. Dozens of eyes followed her, analyzing, whispering, "That's her?" Someone murmured in a high-pitched voice. "The Deathworlder," another voice hissed. "She doesn't even have armor." A tall instructor approached her. His translucent skin pulsed faintly with light. "You are the human envoy?" Lyra nodded. "Cadet Lyra Vance, representing Terra." "Your records suggest unusual physiology," the instructor said. "High-density bone structure. Redundant organ. You are aware such traits are considered primitive?" Lyra smiled slightly. "Primitive keeps us alive." The instructor blinked. "We shall see." As she walked through the halls, the environment shifted to adapt to different species. Humid chambers for aquatic races, frozen corridors for ice world natives, zero-gravity chambers for avian species. The academy was a masterpiece of alien engineering, but it had never been designed for humans. Every few steps she had to adjust to new atmospheres, pressures, and light spectrums. Yet she adapted with quiet precision. In the training wing, she noticed something strange. Students were watching her not out of curiosity, but calculation. Some smiled politely. Others avoided eye contact. The whispers returned again and again. Deathworlder. Feral. Dangerous. When she reached her dorm, the door slid open automatically. Inside was a small chamber with adjustable gravity and a bed that looked too fragile for human weight. She sat down and heard it creak. She didn't complain. She spent her first night studying alien language modules. The neural translator only worked halfway. It couldn't capture the tone of emotion, and that made the voices sound hollow. She wondered how long she could last here, among species who saw her as a monster. That night she dreamed of Earth's red skies during the fleet standoff. She remembered the silence before the storm, the fear in everyone's eyes, and the way humans fought anyway. She woke with a start, her heart steady. The next morning, the Academy's first test began. It was called the Trial of Unity, a simulation designed to measure teamwork and intelligence. Every species competed in mixed groups. Lyra was placed with 4 others, a telepathic Lorith, a reptilian strategist from Nothra, a gas-based life form from the outer worlds, and a fragile avian scholar. Their task was simple: survive 3 days in an artificial environment. The simulation began in a flash of white light, and they appeared on a barren landscape. The Lorith immediately began issuing orders. "We will collect data and coordinate telepathically." Lyra nodded and started scanning the terrain. Within minutes, the temperature dropped below freezing. She built a shelter from broken rocks and cloth. The others argued about resource allocation. By the second day, the Lorith fainted. Its body couldn't handle the cold. The reptilian scales cracked. The avian's wings froze solid. Only Lyra remained standing. She shared her heat with the survivors and hunted strange crystal creatures for food. When the simulation ended, instructors rushed in, confused. The temperature had been far below safety limits, an error that should have killed them all. Yet Lyra had survived and kept 3 teammates alive. One instructor whispered, "This was not a test of strength. It was a test of cooperation." The Academy Council exchanged uneasy looks. The human had broken their expectations again. When Lyra looked at them, her face calm and unreadable, the alien student stepped back slightly. They called her Deathworld Girl now, and that was only her first day. The alien fleet arrived without warning. Massive ships appeared beyond Mars's orbit, shimmering like silver giants against the black of space. Each ship bore the emblem of the Galactic Council. They moved in perfect formation, blocking sunlight as they approached Earth. Their engines glowed white, radiating energy strong enough to bend gravity itself. Humanity's satellites went dark one by one, signals jammed, sensors blinded. On Earth, alarms blared through every defense command center. Admiral Kane, standing in the underground control hall of the Terran Defense Command, stared at the incoming data. The aliens were not here to destroy. They were here to test. The Council's ultimatum had been clear. Any sign of human aggression and the fleet would open fire. Kane spoke calmly into the comms. Activate mirror shield protocol. Across Earth's upper orbit, hundreds of old satellites powered up, their surfaces reflecting sunlight in strange patterns. To the alien sensors, it looked like thousands of hidden weapons charging. The fleet adjusted formation, unsure what they were facing. Their scanners couldn't penetrate the reflective interference. On the command deck of the alien flagship, a voice of crystalline tone hissed. They are bluffing. Fire one plasma lance. A blue beam cut through the dark, striking what looked like an Earth defense satellite. It exploded, but then multiplied. Dozens of decoys split apart, scattering fragments embedded with false energy readings. The aliens were surrounded by hundreds of false targets, unable to tell which was real. Kane whispered, "We built this world for war, but we learned peace by knowing fear first." For hours, both sides stood silent in the void. The aliens didn't advance and humanity didn't fire. Finally, a new signal broke through the static, a diplomatic transmission from the Galactic Council. The voice spoke clearly. "We will not fight you, humans. Not today. But your place in this galaxy will be tested again." The fleet withdrew, but the message was clear. The galaxy was watching. Far away, aboard the Galactic Academy orbiting the twin suns of Vereen, Lyra Vance stood at a viewing window, unaware of Earth's latest confrontation. She stared at the burning orange sky of the station's horizon, the reflection of alien worlds beyond. She felt uneasy. Even here, light years away, she could sense Earth's struggle echoing through her veins. Her first trial had ended with whispers and rumors. Some admired her survival. Others called it luck. In the Academy's halls, she walked alone. The alien students kept their distance, their eyes sharp with curiosity and fear. One evening, as she crossed the training field, a group of insectoid students blocked her path. Their leader, a tall Karvek with glowing blue eyes, clicked his mandibles. "The human walks proudly for one who belongs to a death world." Lyra didn't reply. She simply stared back. The Karvek's wings twitched in irritation. "You think survival makes you strong? It only proves you were too savage to die." Lyra's gaze didn't move, and yet, here I stand. The Karvek hissed and lunged forward, but before he could reach her, the training sensors triggered an alarm. Security drones floated in, warning them to disperse. The group backed off, muttering insults in their tongue. Lyra walked away silently, but she noticed the drones followed her longer than necessary. That night, she couldn't sleep. She watched the Academy's data feeds flicker across her desk. She noticed something strange. Sensor logs showing her assigned habitat's oxygen ratio shifting every few hours. No other student's environment fluctuated like that. It wasn't a malfunction. Someone was testing her limits. The next morning, the Academy's rector summoned her for evaluation. The medical wing was sterile and bright, filled with transparent tanks containing liquid where other alien species floated in suspended animation. Dr. Vanis, a tall creature with translucent veins and 4 eyes, greeted her. "Cadet Vance, your physiology fascinates us. We wish to understand your endurance." "I'm not a test subject," she said. He smiled, but it was the kind of smile predators used when they'd already set the trap. "Of course not. These are standard Academy procedures." They began testing her body in every way possible: temperature endurance, toxin resistance, reaction speed. Each time the results exceeded known limits. When they exposed her to gases meant to induce hallucinations, her blood neutralized the compounds in seconds. When they forced her into zero-gravity combat, she adapted faster than any species in the program. By the end of the day, even Vanis looked unsettled. "How does your body know to adapt?" he asked. Lyra shrugged. "It doesn't know. It remembers." The doctor stared at her, confused. She didn't explain. Weeks passed and Lyra's reputation grew. Some students began following her, not out of friendship but fascination. Others plotted ways to prove her weakness. The Academy, once a place of learning, had become a quiet battlefield of suspicion and envy. One day, a new exercise was announced: the Gauntlet of Systems, a simulation testing survival in multiple planetary environments. Gravity, atmosphere, and terrain would shift without warning. The goal was simple: endure the full sequence. Few students had ever completed it. Lyra entered the chamber, her heart steady. The simulation began with a desert of red sand under twin suns. The heat seared her skin, but she pressed forward. The next transition brought freezing tundra, wind slicing through her lungs. Then came acidic rain, then crushing gravity that forced her to her knees. Instructors watched from the observation deck, whispering nervously as she continued. The alien students inside the chamber began collapsing one by one. The telepaths screamed from the strain. The avians suffocated in dense air. Only Lyra kept moving. Her breathing slowed to match each environment. Her heartbeat changed rhythm with the pressure. Hours later, she emerged from the chamber alive, covered in sweat and scars, her uniform burned in places. Dr. Vanas stood speechless. "That test was not meant to be survivable," he muttered. Lyra wiped her forehead. "Maybe you need better tests." Word spread through the academy like wildfire. Some said the human couldn't be killed. Others said she had no limit at all. The instructors began to whisper that maybe Earth had been right to stand against the Council's control. That night, the Council's distant observers sent an encrypted message to the Academy director. "Continue observation. The subject shows alarming potential. Prepare containment if necessary." The following week, new students avoided eye contact when Lyra passed. Even her instructors seemed cautious. She noticed security drones appeared in every corridor she walked through, their cameras tracking her movements. She began feeling the pressure. The academy system adjusted her schedule, moving her classes to isolated wings. Her meals came separately. The message was clear. They were studying her, not teaching her. Still, she refused to show fear. During one of the rare open gatherings, she overheard two instructors talking. "She's a danger to the balance," one said. "Her kind learns through threat. Imagine what they'll do once they spread beyond their system." "Then perhaps they shouldn't," the other replied. That night, as she returned to her quarters, she found her door unlocked. Inside, the air smelled different. A faint metallic taste coated her tongue. She turned off the lights and waited. Seconds later, she heard a faint hiss. The oxygen vents had been tampered with. Someone was trying to poison her. She cut power to the vent system, sealing it shut. Then she sat by the window, staring at the twin suns burning outside. Her reflection looked calm, but inside her thoughts burned like fire. They were afraid of her, and fear could make even the wisest beings dangerous. Lyra realized that the academy was no longer testing her ability to learn. It was testing how long she would last before she broke. She decided she would not break. She looked out toward the stars, where Earth still fought to be respected among giants, and whispered softly, "If they want to know what a Deathworld is, I'll show them." Outside, far beyond the Academy's orbit, the Council's silver fleet drifted quietly, its captains watching her progress through invisible sensors. And in the shadow of one ship, a smaller human probe, hidden under stealth plating, recorded every moment. Earth was watching too. And soon, the galaxy would learn what it meant to push a Deathworld girl too far. The black of space flashed with streaks of light as dozens of alien warships emerged from hyperspace near Earth's moon. Their hulls glowed with crimson markings, symbols of the Council's enforcement arm. The fleet moved in formation, their energy cores burning brighter than any human engine. Each ship carried weapons capable of splitting planets. The message was simple. Humanity had crossed a line. On Earth, alarms triggered across all continents. In the underground command bunker beneath the Pacific Defense Network, Commander Avery stood before a massive display showing the alien ships closing in. The communication feed from the Galactic Council had arrived minutes earlier, an accusation that Earth was tampering with forbidden technology, the kind that could turn planets into weapons. The accusation was false. But Avery knew the truth didn't matter. The Council wanted fear. They wanted submission. "Bring the SHIELD satellites online," Avery ordered. Technicians moved fast, their hands shaking as they entered commands. Above the Earth, a chain of orbital stations powered up, forming a glowing ring around the planet. The stations were disguised research outposts, but in reality they were prototypes, part of a human experiment called the Solar Net. When activated, it used the sun's magnetic field to create a temporary defense grid across space. The alien ships fired first. Beams of violet energy cut through the dark, hitting the solar net. The sky over Earth burned with streaks of light. For a moment it seemed the defense grid would collapse, but then it stabilized. The alien beams refracted, splitting into harmless fragments of plasma. Avery leaned forward. They thought we were easy to burn. Let them learn. He activated Phase 2. The solar net reversed its polarity, channeling the energy it had absorbed back toward the attackers. The alien fleet's sensors overloaded. Half their ships spun out of control, their shields shattering under reflected solar radiation. Humanity had turned defense into offense using only physics and ingenuity. The alien fleet withdrew. They had underestimated Earth again, but far away the Galactic Council took notice. If Earth's defenses could do this with limited technology, then humanity's potential was beyond dangerous. The Council ordered the Academy to increase surveillance on their human student. At the same time, Lyra Vance stood in the Academy's lower levels, facing a team of scientists in sterile suits. The room was filled with medical equipment that glowed faintly in the blue light. She had been called in for what they described as a routine evaluation. She already knew it wasn't routine. Dr. Vanas, who had studied her from the beginning, stood behind a glass wall. "You are an extraordinary example of adaptation," he said through the speaker. "But we have to know your limits." "I already showed you my limits," Lyra said calmly. He didn't respond. The chamber lights dimmed and she heard the hiss of pressurized air. Invisible gas began filling the room. It wasn't toxic to most species, but humans weren't most species. Her vision blurred for a moment, then cleared. Her body adapted faster than before. Her heart rate slowed, oxygen efficiency rising. The monitors outside began flashing red from the anomaly. Dr. Vanas leaned closer to the screen. "Impossible." He ordered the simulation chamber to increase the gas concentration. Lyra felt pressure building in her lungs. Her body reacted by producing thicker blood, slowing the toxin's spread. She clenched her fists, forcing herself to stay conscious. When the simulation ended, she stood breathing heavily but alive. The scientists outside stared in silence. One whispered, "She's not adjusting. She's evolving." After that day, the Academy stopped treating her like a student. She noticed security drones following her everywhere. Her classes were moved to empty wings. Even the instructors avoided speaking with her. It was clear she was being isolated. She spent her time in the observation deck watching ships from different species arrive and leave. The Academy floated in the orbit of twin suns, surrounded by hundreds of smaller stations. Every day she felt the weight of eyes watching her, evaluating every heartbeat and movement. She began hearing rumors. Other students had gone missing, mostly those who spoke openly against the Academy's treatment of her. One of them was a quiet avian named Reth, who had once defended her in a debate about Deathworlds. The next day he was gone, his dorm completely emptied. Lyra started asking questions, but nobody would answer. The instructors denied everything, saying some students had been reassigned to different branches, yet she found their IDs deactivated in the system. One evening, she accessed the Academy's internal database through a broken console she had repaired herself. She discovered a locked section labeled Project Origin. The files contained genetic data, hers. It showed they had been comparing her biology to other species, searching for what made humans so adaptable. One note read, "Potential for weaponization extreme." That same night, her door unlocked on its own. She turned quickly, expecting security, but it was a young alien technician. His skin shimmered silver, his eyes wide with fear. "They are going to move you," he whispered, "to the lower decks. No one returns from there." Before she could ask questions, alarms blared and the technician fled. Lyra grabbed her pack and left the room. The hallways were dark. Emergency lights flashed red and the air smelled of coolant and ozone. She moved silently through the maintenance tunnels, hearing drones flying overhead. She didn't run. She calculated each step, knowing panic would get her caught. She reached the old cargo bay where broken machinery lay in shadows. Through a viewport, she could see one of the Academy's research ships preparing for launch. On board, she saw Dr. Vanas and several guards carrying sealed containers. Her name was printed on them. She knew what they were doing now. They were sending her genetic data to the Council for analysis. She climbed onto a suspended walkway, her movements silent as she reached the docking clamps. Using a maintenance tool, she overloaded the clamps' stabilizers. Sparks flew, and the alarms went silent for a second before the entire bay shook violently. The research ship detached too early, spinning into open space. It exploded moments later. Lyra hid in the maintenance ducts as security drones searched the area. Through the metal walls she heard fragments of communication. Contain the human. All units respond. Use stasis weapons only. They didn't understand. She wasn't running. She was learning. Hours later, she reached the oxygen regulation sector. She found the core control panel and accessed the system. She didn't sabotage it completely. She simply adjusted the oxygen flow to randomize across the academy. Chaos began spreading immediately. Different species couldn't handle the changes. Panic broke out in the dorms as temperatures and air composition shifted uncontrollably. The academy descended into confusion. Security forces were forced to focus on maintaining life support. In that chaos, Lyra vanished into the maintenance corridors again. From the command deck, the academy's director received a transmission from the council. "What is the status of the human?" The director hesitated. "Contained, we believe," the council voice replied coldly. "Belief is not enough. Secure her. The others must not know what she is." By the time they sent patrols to the lower decks, they found nothing. Only flickering lights and broken drones. Lyra was gone. But in the quiet of the power conduits, she whispered to herself, "They think they can control us because they fear us. Let them fear." Far away on Earth, the solar net glowed faintly over the planet's surface, its power expanding day by day. Humanity was building something new, something hidden, and in the shadows of the Galactic Academy, their first student had begun to understand her true purpose. She wasn't there to learn diplomacy anymore. She was there to teach the galaxy what happens when you corner a survivor. The alien fleet appeared without warning, massive ships cutting through the void like blades of glass. They darkened the skies above Earth's orbit, surrounding the blue planet with walls of shimmering light. Each vessel was the size of a continent, their engines whispering across space with a hum that could be felt rather than heard. The Galactic Council had come not for diplomacy, but for judgment. Inside the orbital defense ring, General Mara Vale watched the screen as thousands of alien crafts moved into firing formation. The Council's flagship, Judicator Prime, transmitted its ultimatum. A cold voice filled every channel. "Humans of Earth, your time is over. You were warned to cease your experiments with gravitational weapons. You ignored the orders of the Council. Surrender your world for restructuring." Mara didn't flinch. Around her, officers worked in silence. They had known this moment would come. For years, humanity had prepared quietly, not with new weapons, but with new thinking. "Send transmission," Mara said. Her voice was calm. "To the fleet." The screen split, showing hundreds of human captains from every nation, every colony. They stood ready inside their ships, faces hardened by the weight of what was coming. Mara spoke. "They think they can rewrite our history. But Earth is not just a planet, it's a promise. You all know your orders. Let them see what humans can do when they are cornered." At her command, the fleet activated Operation Halo. The alien armada fired first. Energy beams brighter than the sun crossed space and struck Earth's orbit. But instead of explosions, the beams bent, curving away as if space itself refused to let them through. Invisible rings shimmered around Earth like ripples on water. The aliens had expected to find a vulnerable target. Instead, they found a trap woven out of gravity itself. The humans had built a planetary-scale defense system that bent space-time, a weapon they called the gravity net. The first wave of alien ships vanished into folds of distorted space. The second wave tried to retreat, but the gravity net pulled them inward, tearing their formation apart. Mara's officers stared in shock as massive alien dreadnoughts twisted and collapsed, their hulls crumpling under their own mass. No sound reached through the void, but the sight said everything. Humanity, once seen as fragile, had turned the laws of physics into armor. On the alien flagship, Council Commander Ralvek watched in disbelief. "They are using gravity as a shield," he hissed. That's impossible for their level of development. But it was already too late. The humans had turned the battle before it began. The alien fleet retreated, their transmissions cut short. Earth was safe for now. However, deep inside the Council's archives, fear began to grow. Humanity had gone from prey to potential threat, and the Council had never allowed a threat to live for long. On the outer rim of the galaxy, aboard the orbital research colony Haven 9, a young human engineer named Elias Wren stared at the holographic star map flickering before him. The map displayed countless red dots, worlds under surveillance. Humans were considered second-class citizens among the stars, allowed only to serve, never to command. But Elias was not interested in politics. He was interested in secrets. He had spent years decoding the fragments of intercepted council transmissions, and tonight, he had found something terrifying. Hidden within encrypted military channels was a project name: Purge Protocol, Human Containment. The council wasn't planning negotiations. They were planning extermination. Elias uploaded the data into his portable drive and locked it into his wristband. Then he heard footsteps behind him. 2 council guards entered, their tall bodies covered in silver armor. Their eyes glowed faintly as they scanned the room. "Human technician," one said. "You are accessing restricted archives." "Step away," Elias forced a smile. "Just fixing a calibration issue. You wouldn't want your systems to overheat again, right?" Before the guards could respond, he activated his wristband. The lights flickered and the console exploded in sparks. Smoke filled the lab as he ran into the corridor. The alarms blared through the entire station. Security drones swarmed through the air. Elias ducked under one, rolling into a side maintenance shaft. The sound of metal footsteps echoed behind him. He crawled through the narrow space until he reached the outer hull access port. Beyond the glass he saw stars, and one small ship drifting silently outside. It was his escape craft, hidden for months inside a forgotten docking bay. He opened the hatch and climbed out into the void, magnetic boots clicking against the hull. The nearest drone spotted him. A beam of blue light shot past his shoulder. He jumped, launching himself toward the small craft. The airlock opened just in time. He sealed the door, panting, then activated the engines. The small vessel detached from Haven 9, disappearing into the darkness. For hours, Elias drifted in silence, watching the stars blur past. Then he activated his communicator. "This is Elias Wren of the Human Colony Sector," he said. "To any human ship receiving this message, the Council plans to erase Earth. They're calling it the Purge Protocol. You have to warn the fleet." Static filled the channel. For a moment, there was nothing. Then a voice replied, "Transmission received. This is Commander Iden Holt of the Resistance Fleet. We've been waiting for someone like you." Elias blinked. "Resistance?" "Yes," the voice said. "Humans who refuse to serve the Council. We've been hiding on the far side of Titan's shadow. Send us your coordinates." He hesitated, but sent the data. Minutes later, a shape appeared on his radar. A fleet of human ships, old and scarred, hidden behind the icy moon's orbit. When Elias docked, he was met by Commander Holt himself, a tall man with cold eyes and a quiet strength. Around him stood dozens of pilots and engineers. "You brought proof?" Holt asked. Elias nodded and showed him the files. As the holographic data played, the room went silent. It displayed maps of Earth, lists of population centers, and the Council's schedule for orbital bombardment. "They mean to end humanity," Elias said. "Completely." Holt's eyes hardened. "Then we strike first." The Resistance fleet began preparations immediately. They didn't have powerful ships or advanced weapons. What they had was something better: ingenuity. Using mining vessels, transport freighters, and derelict warships, they built a weapon unlike any the galaxy had seen before: a resonance pulse. It wasn't designed to destroy ships directly. It targeted communication networks, disabling every quantum relay across a system. Once activated, it would blind the entire Council fleet for hours. The plan was simple: ambush the invasion force before it reached Earth. Trigger the pulse and vanish. When the day came, the void filled with motion again. The Council armada emerged from hyperspace near Mars, ready to begin the purge. But before they could send the order, the void trembled. A wave of invisible energy spread across the system. The alien ships lost contact with one another, their sensors going dark. The human resistance emerged from Titan's shadow and struck fast. Dozens of small ships darted between the massive alien cruisers, planting explosive charges on weak points. One by one, the Council ships erupted into light. The aliens tried to regroup, but their commands couldn't get through. Confusion spread like fire. The humans disappeared into the asteroid belt before the pulse faded. By the time the Council restored control, half their fleet was gone. Elias stood in the control room, watching the fading glow on the screen. "We bought Earth time," he said quietly. Commander Holt nodded. "Time is all humanity needs. We always find a way to turn survival into victory. Far away, In the council chamber at the heart of the galaxy, the leaders of 1,000 species watched the battle recordings in silence. They should have been destroyed, one said. Another replied, they should never have learned to fight back. But the eldest among them spoke softly. You misunderstand humans. They do not fight because they want to win. They fight because they refuse to die. Outside the chamber, the stars burned quietly, waiting for the next move in a war that had just begun. The stars over Earth burned red as thousands of alien ships descended through the void. They came in silence, no warnings, no demands, just movement, precise and cold. These were not council vessels. Their hulls were made of black metal that shimmered like smoke, their shapes shifting as though alive. The ships did not communicate. They simply advanced. Admiral Cara Vale stood in the war room aboard the Resolute Dawn. The screens filled with readings that made no sense. Every scan failed to register mass or energy output. The alien fleet appeared both near and impossibly far at once, their positions shifting in impossible ways. They're bending light, said the technician. We can't even get a solid target lock. Kara's voice stayed calm. Then we use something that doesn't need light. Prepare the graviton grid. Across Earth's orbit, a massive ring of satellites powered up. The GravNet, humanity's greatest invention, came alive again. Invisible waves of warped space radiated outward. For a moment, the black ships flickered, revealing faint outlines. But they didn't stop. They moved through the gravity field as if it wasn't there. Impossible, whispered one of the officers. They're ignoring the laws of physics. Kara turned toward her crew. Nothing ignores physics. Find out what they're using. The alien ships reached lunar orbit. The moon's surface cracked under the force of their arrival. In seconds, they formed a formation. 3 massive vessels in front, dozens behind. From the lead ship, a single pulse of white light spread outward. Every human ship in its path went dark. They're disabling our power cores, said the engineer. Every fusion reactor offline. Kara clenched her jaw. Switch to cold systems. Manual control only. The bridge dimmed as lights shut down. Emergency power flickered on. Outside, the Earth fleet looked like broken fireflies drifting through the dark. Admiral, the communications officer said, we're receiving a transmission. Not from the Council. It's coming directly from those ships. Put it through. A voice filled the room. It wasn't a sound made by any throat. It was everywhere. Inside their minds, the air, the ship itself. Humans, the voice said. You have broken the balance. The Council was your shield. Now it is gone. You have awakened us. Kara felt the air grow cold. Identify yourself. We are what remains. The architects of order. The void calls us by many names, but you may call us the architects. The transmission ended and a single beam of energy shot toward Earth. It didn't explode. It didn't burn. Instead, it created a dark scar across the sky, a hole in the atmosphere where light itself vanished. For a moment, everyone was silent. Then Kara spoke. Send message to all stations. Humanity stands united. Prepare for planetary defense. The order spread through every city, every colony, every hidden base. Humanity's last war had begun. On the far side of Mars, Elias Wren stood aboard the rebuilt Haven 9. He had been working to stabilize the damaged subspace network when the alien signal appeared. He watched the data scroll past the screen and felt a chill. These readings, he murmured. They're using energy signatures from before the galaxy formed. They're not invaders, they're ancient. He opened a channel to Kara. Admiral, they're older than the Council. I think they built the first gateways. They might have created the very laws of hyperspace. Kara's face appeared on the holo. Can you find a weakness? Elias hesitated. They exist between dimensions. Normal weapons won't touch them. Then we'll use what no one else dares to, she replied. Get me the resonance core. The resonance core was humanity's most dangerous experiment, an unfinished weapon that used folded spacetime to collapse energy across dimensions. It was banned by the Council because it could destroy entire systems. Elias had hidden the only working prototype deep inside Titan's crust. He took a deep breath. If we activate it near them, it could tear open subspace itself. We might lose the entire solar system. Kara's eyes hardened. If we don't, there won't be a solar system to save. The plan formed quickly. Elias would guide the core to the alien fleet. Kara's ships would distract them long enough for him to activate it manually. There would be no second chance. Hours later, as the alien ships descended toward Earth's atmosphere, The human fleet surged upward from the dark side of the planet. Thousands of ships, military, civilian, even mining crafts formed a single wall of light. "Target their lead vessel," Kara ordered. "Fire everything we have." Every ship opened fire at once. Missiles, plasma bolts, and rail slugs crossed the void. For a moment, the black vessels vanished behind explosions brighter than the sun, but when the light cleared, the aliens were untouched. The human ships began to fall one by one. Inside his small craft, Elias guided the resonance core through the chaos. The core was a sphere of white energy, pulsing like a heart. He could feel it vibrating through the hull, humming with barely contained power. "Elias," Kara's voice came through the static. "You're almost there." "I know," he said. "Keep them busy." The alien fleet detected the energy spike. Their ships turned toward him, moving faster than any known technology. Beams of dark light streaked past his vessel, cutting through space like knives. One struck his wing, spinning him out of control. He fought the controls, stabilizing the ship. The core glowed brighter, almost blinding. He was close enough now that the alien hulls began to distort, their shadows stretching like smoke. He pressed the activation sequence. The core unleashed a pulse that tore through the void. Every ship, human and alien, was thrown aside as if caught in a storm. The black vessels tried to retreat, but the pulse followed them, bending the fabric of space. Inside the alien flagship, the architects screamed. Their voices echoed across every frequency. "You cannot destroy what was before your time." But they were wrong. The pulse grew until space itself folded inward. The alien ships began to disintegrate, their forms unraveling into streams of light. One by one, they vanished into nothing. Elias's ship was caught in the wave. His systems failed, alarms blaring. He could barely see as the core collapsed in on itself, creating a glowing sphere the size of a moon. "Admiral," he said weakly over the channel. "It's done. Elias, get out of there." He smiled faintly. "There's no out left. Tell them we finally reached the stars." The core imploded and everything went white. When the light faded, the alien fleet was gone. The sky above Earth was clear again, but the moon was missing, reduced to dust scattered across the void. For days, no one spoke. The galaxy had gone silent. The Council's remnants vanished, and the subspace network remained broken. Humanity was alone, but free. On the resolute dawn, Kara stood at the viewport, watching the sun rise over Earth. "He saved us," she whispered. A voice answered behind her. "No," said one of her officers. "He gave us a warning. If they were the ones who built the galaxy, there might be more." Kara nodded. "Then we'll be ready." Years passed. The scars of the war faded, but the legend of the architects remained. Humanity rebuilt, not as subjects, but as explorers. Their fleets expanded beyond the old borders, reaching into the dark spaces where even the Council had feared to go. One day, far beyond the known stars, a human scout ship detected a faint signal. It wasn't a threat, just a message written in an ancient pattern of light. It read, "We remember the world that fought the architects, the death world that defied the void." The message ended with a single line, written in a language older than any human tongue, yet perfectly understood. "Do not stop reaching." And so humanity continued, not as conquerors but as survivors who had faced gods and refused to kneel. Their ships carried the mark of Earth across the stars, a reminder to every species that the so-called Deathworld had given birth to something unbreakable. The galaxy would never forget the day the Deathworld girl entered the Alien Academy, and by graduation, none of them remained.